Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Chainsaw Reacts podcast, episode number 44. And today, guys, we are only covering one topic, and that topic is, of course, the Captain America Civil War Trailer 2 breakdown. I'm going to go through my favorite parts of the trailer. I'm going to start at the beginning of the trailer and work my way to the end. So if you want to hear my thoughts and speculation on the reveal of Spider-Man, what I think about his costume, my speculations of how involved he is in the film, and all that kind of stuff involving Spider-Man, it's going to be at the end of the podcast, because unfortunately they waited till the very end to reveal him. So at the very end of the podcast will be my Spider-Man talk, which will probably take up some time, but I'm going to work my way to that, to the big reveal. So that's how it's going to go. So anyway, guys, without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it now. The Captain America Civil War Trailer 2 breakdown. Now, the first thing I want to talk about, skip ahead of the Winter Soldier stuff and all that, I want to get to General Thunderbolt Ross talking to the Avengers about all of the crazy destruction that's happened so far in the MCU. Now, what I liked first about the teaser, not this trailer, but we're gonna lead up to what I'm explaining here. So, what I liked about the teaser is that they showed General Thunderbolt Ross talking to Captain America and all that in the Avengers, saying people see you as a hero, but others prefer the word vigilante and all this kind of stuff, and building a little bit of, the government wants to kind of get more involved with what the Avengers do, which is pretty cool. Now, what this second trailer, now getting to the point in this image, this second trailer does not hold back, okay? They don't give a little tease and all that kind of stuff. It goes right to the point. It shows footage from New York City from the first Avengers movie, where Loki and the Chitauri attack, and it's all mayhem and destruction. And then he shows some footage of that aircraft carrier that they use in the Avenger movies in the Marvel Universe, crashing in Washington, D.C., I believe, in Captain America the Winter Soldier. And he just shows Washington, D.C., we see this humongous destruction. And then Sokovia, I believe that's the country. Sokovia, which was in Avengers Age of Ultron, that basically got lifted into the sky by Ultron, and seeing the destruction of that. And basically showing to Captain America and the Avengers, this is what you've done so far. So what it is, it's basically connecting so far everything that's kind of happened with these big events, with the Avengers, which is a humongous event that has not happened yet in the MCU's universe. And then we see the Winter Soldier situation where, stuff's crashing out of the skies, huge mayhem, huge destruction. It was like an Avengers movie, just not with the Avengers, but just Captain America. But it was pretty eventful. It changed the whole game. SHIELD was inactive. It was insanity. Hydra, insanity. Then we get to the Age of Ultron. So we're basically seeing right after the aftermath of Age of Ultron. This is where it leads up to this. So basically, what I think this will be is a turning point, because a little bit later in the trailer, a few seconds later, Tony Stark shows up, and I believe he's a part of this, where he shows up after, it's shown to the Avengers by General Thunderbolt Ross, we want to keep you guys in check. You have to follow by us. We want to set guidelines. And Tony Stark walks in, and maybe a couple of the other Avengers that are not really Avengers, maybe people who are on Tony's side, also show up at this meeting that's happening right now. I don't know, but we see Tony Stark show up, and he basically says, I'm a part of this, we need to do this, and we need to stay in check. Even though he left the Avengers, it's kind of weird how he's coming back into the fold and is like, we need to stay in line. It's very odd, but I'm assuming they'll explain it in the movie, so I have no real issue with that. But I do like the fact that the Russo brothers found a way to bring back a character from the Incredible Hulk film in 2008, which Edward Norton as the Hulk is canon, and I'm glad they brought back General Thunderbolt Ross and made him relevant and made him back into the fold, because realistically, this is going to be the biggest movie since Age of Ultron and since the first Avengers film. This will be, and they brought a character from the Hulk film, the Incredible Hulk, into the mix and all that kind of stuff, and bring him back into relevancy, I guess. But it was a good move, because it really makes sense with the storyline. It makes sense to bring back General Thunderbolt Ross, so I'm glad they do, and I'm hoping they bring him back for later films, so we'll see about that. The next thing I do want to talk about is Iron Man jumping out of a helicopter with a parachute. I'm not sure what that is. He has something on his back. It's probably not a parachute, but he's jumping out, and then all of a sudden, he zooms off. Now, I like this. I'm wondering what this is all connected with, where Tony Stark is now back being active. Maybe this is after where maybe there's a scene they have in the film where General Thunderbolt Ross confronts or goes and contacts and talks with Tony Stark and all this kind of stuff about what he's wanting to do and all this kind of stuff. And would you help me? And this is what the government wants to do with the Avengers. And maybe that's how he gets back into the fold. But they're gonna have to explain a little bit why he's back in the suit doing stuff. So I'm assuming it might be after the fact when the Avengers, run by Captain America at the end of Age of Ultron, we have the new Avengers lineup, and maybe after this whole meeting with the government that, Captain America and his, team essentially are not going to be falling in line, and maybe that's why Tony Stark gets back into being in the suit and becomes Iron Man again. Maybe. I'm hoping that'd be a cool plot device that he comes back because of this reason. Now, next we're going to get to is this big prison everyone's been talking about. Now this apparently it's going to be gone by another name, but this looks like the Raft, a Marvel Universe supervillain prison, which everyone's been talking about as like little plants, little Easter eggs of villains who have not died, and that could be in this prison. And one of those rumored people that are in this prison out in the middle of nowhere is the Abomination, because the Abomination in the Incredible Hulk film that is canon in 2008 was not killed by the Hulk. So the Abomination is still in play. I'm assuming they're holding him off until they have a sequel or a Hulk film with Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner, and they'll bring him into the fold. That's what I'm assuming. But it's kind of cool to see that they're introducing this top secret, super villain prison out in the middle of the ocean. It's very cool that they're bringing this into the mix. I'm wondering if they're going to imprison somebody in this cage that is maybe a villain or somebody a part of the Avengers. They imprison him. Maybe that's where Bucky is being held. I don't know what's going on. I'm just excited to see that they're introducing more cool stuff from the actual comic books and all that kind of stuff. Even though they might call them by a different name, it's still cool to see that they're bringing stuff from the comics into the fold, into the films, which there's a really iconic thing they actually do from the comics, but we'll get to that in a second or a little bit later in this breakdown. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Black Panther laying the smackdown on Bucky on a motorcycle. Now, this image that they got from this breakdown is iconic. I'm actually going through a breakdown on a website, which should not be a shock because it's easier to do for me. But this shot of him going and grabbing the bike and slamming it and basically pulling Bucky off of the bike and stopping him. Now, this is very interesting because people pointed this out, and I'm glad that I waited a little bit to do my breakdowns to hear some of the theories and all that kind of stuff, so I can kind of throw them into the mix and basically run them through my head as well to see if they would make sense. And what I like about this is that people were mentioning that Captain America and his team are the ones that are on the run from the government because they're not, complying with the government. So people notice, why is Black Panther chasing Bucky? Because Captain America, obviously they show it again. Why is Captain America is following Bucky, not Bucky. Captain America is chasing Black Panther, who is chasing Bucky. So I think what this means is that Bucky might be the the fugitive that they're after, and maybe that's why they're ultimately going against Captain America more than just regularly, because maybe he breaks Winter Soldier Bucky out of prison or something. Maybe he was on the raft, like I was saying a little bit earlier, and maybe Captain America saves him, and so Black Panther's essentially trying to get a hold of Bucky and put him back. I don't know what's going on, but it seems that Bucky is going to be a very important part of this film. I mean, they showed that in the teaser, a lot of scenes with Bucky and with Captain America and the Falcon, so it's going to be interesting how they incorporate that into the Civil War storyline, but I'm assuming it's kind of both things. The government wants Captain America and the Avengers that he is currently running, his team that eventually forms, to say, no, we're not going to be, held down by the government. And it's also going to be lynched on the fact that he probably broke Bucky out of prison. I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen because ever since Bucky just kind of walked away in the Winter Soldier, we've not heard anything about it. So it would make sense that Bucky was captured. He's on the raft. Steve Rogers, Captain America, saves him. And then that's why Captain America, Black Panther in this photo, and the rest of the government and the rest of Tony Stark's team go after Bucky and go after Captain America and his team because they're not complying with the government, and Bucky is on the run and he's a fugitive. So it would make logical sense this is the direction they're going, but just seeing Black Panther in a movie, I'm so happy. This is going to be a gigantic film. This is not the Avengers where they team up and all this kind of stuff, and you've already been introduced to them and all that. And even in Age of Ultron, they introduced for the first time Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch and the Vision. But in this film, they're not introducing characters to fight on the same side. They're introducing characters to fight against each other. We saw Ant-Man in his own film, but he's now joining up in an Avengers type film on one side. We're seeing Spider-Man being introduced into the MCU through a fight film. We're seeing Black Panther being introduced into the film in a fight film. So it's going to be interesting how they play off that versus if they introduce characters in an ensemble film that's going to be fighting one big threat. They're introducing new characters to basically choose a side. They have to pick a side. And interestingly enough, the two characters they've really introduced in this film that are major characters, that are heroes, Black Panther and Spider-Man, are on Tony Stark's side. So interesting to see that. Let's go to the next page here on this breakdown and go to the next shot, which I want to get to is Rhodey. Rhodey, dude. Rhodey, what is up, man? What's going on? What, come on, man. Seriously. People have been talking about this for quite some time, ever since they released the teaser showing Rhodey on the ground, and he's knocked out. And people are saying he's dead. My assumption is that it's a misdirect. Why would Marvel, who is very, very smart in showing what footage they want to show, like Marvel isn't like most other studios where they get a film and they're really scared of it not doing well, so they just put a bunch of shit in it that they shouldn't because it basically spoils the film to get people in the seats. It's kind of like when a studio makes a comedy trailer for a film that's a comedy, and they make a trailer for it, and they put too much of the jokes in it. That's the big like they put the biggest jokes in the movie in the trailer to get people in the seats, and then they're not as satisfied because the movie's best jokes were in the trailer. So I personally don't see why Marvel would show Rhodey on the ground, passed out in the teaser, and then showing Rhodey getting shot, like in this picture you're seeing here, falling, and then we see the same shot again. Why would they clearly show that? It's a misdirect. I think what it is that Rhodey is incapacitated, he's in a coma or something from a fight that happens maybe towards the middle of the film, and that maybe pushes Tony Stark and his side of his own Avengers, his own team, to really push forward and go against Captain America and his team, because it's kind of implied. Now, it could be just trailer trickery, because, like I said, Marvel is probably misdirecting us. They show right before Rhodes gets hit, that Bucky has a rocket launcher or something like that. So I'm assuming that it's a misdirect, or maybe they're showing that maybe this does happen the way it does, but Rhodey is not going to die. They're just going to show him get really hurt, and that pushes Tony Stark over the edge and goes after Captain America and his team for sure. Next up I do want to talk about is that Black Panther shot. This is so badass. It goes by so fast. People have started making jokes about in Avengers Age of Ultron how Quicksilver dies in Age of Ultron, and where the bullets came and just got him and basically took him out. And we see Black Panther here, and you see that little spark on his shoulder where bullets are just bouncing off of him. Oh my god, it is badass. I mean, it goes by so fast, people missed it, but people started pointing out he is like deflecting bullets off of his outfit, and it's fantastic. I mean, look at that. Even though it's kind of a grainy shot, obviously they're not like, you can see a fully fledged picture of the Black Panther suit, but to see in action and seeing it actually moving on film is way better. But just seeing this shot right here, man, it looks so good. It looks so close, in my personal opinion, to a lot of the Black Panther outfits from the actual comics. I mean, they really did a very good job of bringing it to live action, but kind of changing it a bit, but making it really close to that really cool look. Next thing I do want to talk about is what I think is a very smart move on the Russo brothers, which is Scarlet Witch and Vision. Now, people looked at this image and when it went by, and people kept going back to it and pausing it and looking at it and going, what the hell's going on? I think what this is that this is Marvel responding to all the criticism of people saying Vision is basically a god. Like, Vision, whatever side Vision's on, whether it's Tony Stark's side, which he is, or Captain America's side, whatever sides he's on will win. Now, I think what this does, because I saw an article that came out, or two different articles, where basically, and the two different articles in different times kind of collate and come together. Because these articles came out before the trailer did. One article said that Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Scarlet Witch, said in this film we're gonna see how much power Scarlet Witch actually has. So in Age of Ultron, she didn't use her powers to the full potential because we see in the trailer she can use her powers to fly. It is insanity. She did not fly in Age of Ultron. She has learned to fly with her powers, and that's badass. But what this also implies to me is that she's way more powerful than we thought. And the other article that kind of coincides with this image you're seeing here is that it was revealed we will get to see Vision's limitations in this film. Because what we saw in Age of Ultron was him being this god, this being, this thing that was kind of unstoppable. He was basically the real big force that kind of ultimately stopped Ultron's plans, shutting him out from using his ability to escape and all that kind of stuff, or using the internet, like shut his brain off essentially by touching him, and he was using his gem on his head to basically fight off Ultron. Like he was very, very powerful. His ability to fly, so much cool shit. But what it is that the two articles, Scarlet Witches, we're gonna see how powerful she is. We're gonna see how Vision has his limitations, which tells me Vision is not a god like we think. I think Vision has some sort of way of getting hurt, which we see in this image here. So I think this is a very smart move, because if Vision, like I was saying a little bit earlier, was just a god, this fight would not last long. Vision would be able to kill each and every one of Captain America's teammates if he wanted to. But what this implies is that he kind of has an equal. He kind of has someone he has power issues with. And interestingly enough, it's actually the woman that he has actually had relationships with in the comics. So it's going to be interesting how they handle this. I'm assuming that after this movie, eventually when everything gets all happy, hunky-dory for the Avengers and for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and everybody's all happy in one big, humongous team, I think Vision and Scarlet Witch will end up being a couple. So we'll see what happens there. Next up, I do want to talk about, oh my god, talking about things they're taking from the comic books and putting them in the films. We talked about the Raft, the big prison, a little bit earlier. We just finished talking about Vision and Scarlet Witch possibly getting together. We see the kind of the couple argument where the Vision is getting hurt. Now we're seeing Ant-Man riding an arrow shot by Hawkeye. Tell me about some of the most iconic things you've seen in Marvel comic books, right? Think of some of the greatest ones, the most iconic visuals that are just iconic. They stand out. They're some of the greatest things they've ever done in the Marvel comics. This is one of them. This is one of the best things they've done. I think they did it in a cartoon a couple years ago, or part of one of the Avenger comic, or not comic, Avenger cartoon shows or movies or whatever. And they did them there, and they, of course, done it in the comics. That's where it came from. But then to actually put it in the film, holy crap, I freaked out when I saw this. It goes by so fast. And what I noticed from a lot of other reactors, a lot of reactors didn't really respond to this little piece of footage in the trailer of Ant-Man riding an arrow shot by Hawkeye. It is phenomenal. It really blows my mind that they actually did this, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, Ant-Man and Hawkeye are on the same team, and I mean, I bet the Russo brothers and Kevin Feige, who is the Marvel president of Marvel Studios, was probably geeking the hell out, like, oh my god, we can actually do this! Yes, let's do it! And they did it. I am loving this, and I can't wait to see what other things they have up their sleeves and what they could possibly pull out. Now, some people actually online that have seen this image, obviously, and have seen the trailer, have complained they kind of ruined this iconic thing, but look, it's going to be amazing in the film. It's awesome they show it in the trailer because it builds the hype. Like, this is not a humongous reveal. Like, this is just something that's a very smart, tactical move. Like, just firing an arrow, like, what the fuck? It's just an arrow. Like, you shot the arrow, Hawkeye, and it went out of nowhere. No, he's shooting it in the right direction, but Ant-Man's riding it. He's going to use it to his advantage. And obviously, I'm not going to talk about it, but he obviously is going to land on Iron Man's arm and do something to Iron Man, so I like that. Let's get to the next page here. Which is going to be what I do want to talk about a bit is actually Crossbones. Is that his name? Let's see. Where is his name? Crossbones. I don't want to mess up his name. Yeah, Crossbones. I wanted to double check because I was hoping that, oh my god, what if I actually screwed up his name? Now, we've seen him only a little bit in the trailers, and what I think is ultimately going to happen is that he's going to be towards the beginning of the film. I don't think it's going to be a big thing where he's throughout the entire film and all that kind of stuff, because we still have Baron Zemo. Daniel Bruhl's Baron Zemo we've not seen yet. I think what it is, now, I'm getting off topic here, but let me finish up the Crossbones thing here. I think it's be cool to see Frank Grillo come back as Crossbones because, him and Cap had a little bit of a tiffy, and then, of course, Frank Grillo in The Winter Soldier fought Anthony Mackie, but it's cool to see that Captain America and Crossbones are going to go, head to head and all that kind of stuff, and see how that fight pans out. I kind of figure that Captain America is going to eventually win the fight against Crossbones, but it's cool to see that they just found a way to bring him into the mix. There's so many damn characters, and they said, you know what, we set this up in Winter Soldier, let's bring it back, let's bring Crossbones into the mix. I don't think he's going to die because it's a cool character to bring back and all that kind of stuff from time to time. So bring him back, keep him around. But what I do want to mention before I continue on, keeping on this picture about villains, is that Baron Zemo, like I was mentioning a few seconds ago, Daniel Bruhl, the actor, is playing Baron Zemo. We've not seen one shot of Baron Zemo in this movie. And I think the reason why is because, let's be honest, I'm thinking the Baron Zemo thing is kind of like the Doomsday of the BVS movie. Batman v Superman, Doomsday is the end game of the film, where they all team up. I personally think that Baron Zemo is probably the Doomsday, where Baron Zemo has a plan, and maybe both Captain America and Tony Stark's side, they all team up into one. It's like an Avengers movie at the end of Captain America Civil War, and they go after Baron Zemo and whatever else he's got planned going on. And there's also been rumors that Crossbones and Baron Zemo are actually working together, so that'd be kind of cool to see that interaction, to see Baron Zemo and Crossbones talking and basically planning the demise of the Avengers, which won't happen, but it'd be cool to see that. But I think they're playing it smart because a lot of people have forgotten there is a villain in this movie. I mean, Crossbones, he's been in the trailer, but there's another villain we've not seen in this movie, Baron Zemo. So I like the fact that they're kind of holding that off, and we'll get to see that a little bit later. So the next shot I do want to talk about right before the big reveal, which is this shot right here of them running at each other. We see in this shot, we see Vision, Iron Man, we see Black Widow, and we see Black Panther running together. We see Bucky, Captain America, Hawkeye, Ant-Man, Falcon, and Scarlet, which I don't see. Oh yeah, and there's War Machine too. I almost forgot him on Iron Man's side. And this is actually before the big reveal, because unless they digitally edit him in, which would be kind of cool, that in the actual film, because what was really cool is that there was one particular shot where Thor is like, is that the best you can do? And in the third trailer for Avengers Age of Ultron, it's just Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, and Captain America. But in the actual film itself, when you actually watch the movie, it's all four of them, plus Vision, plus Scarlet Witch, plus Quicksilver, and I think somebody else. So, I mean, they digitally edit people in all the time. And that trailer came out 2 months before the movie did, so they digitally edited those people in. So I'm assuming that Spider-Man's probably in this mix too, or maybe he's not. I don't know. So, but I'm loving this run-in shot. I mean, there've been jokes like, oh my god, Civil War in the comics, there's like 50 characters. But look, if they would have literally put in like 5 more characters, or each team had 10 characters on each team, Iron Man has 10 people on his side, so it's Iron Man and 9 other people, Captain America and 9 other people, it'd be way too much. Oh my god, it'd be too much. So I think with the characters they've introduced in the film, Black Panther and Spider-Man, and the fact that they're bringing in characters from their own movies, which of course is only Ant-Man, but the fact that they're bringing these characters that they've introduced so far in a couple new ones, I'm thinking this is good enough. I'm thinking if they did any more, it'd be way too much, and the movie would have to be at least 3 hours long, which I wouldn't have an issue with, but I think the studio would probably have an issue of a 3-hour movie. It wouldn't make as much money because it'd be too damn long. So, I'm liking this. I love this shot, but let's get to the actual big thing here. Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever Spider can. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Watch out! It's Spider-Man. My God. You know, I do first want to talk about the complaints people have said online. Now, look, everyone has their opinions about what they think the perfect Spider-Man costume should be, and people have argued that it is the iconic Spider-Man look from the 1960s, back in the day, like not a newer incarnation of the spider suit. I knew once Marvel and Sony signed a deal that Marvel would have the rights to use Spider-Man and MCU characters, Black Widow, Captain America, Iron Man, whatever, could appear in Spider-Man films, which they will. Because, that's how it works. You get the most iconic character finally in the MCU. We want a couple of MCU characters to show up in the Spider-Man film. Okay, Sony. Okay. I knew once they signed that deal that Marvel was not going to go back and reuse another Spider-Man costume that Sony has already used. I know it was not going to happen because it'd be just kind of like, okay, well, fuck it. Let's just take one of the old ones that you guys have already used. It would make no sense. It would be lazy. So what I like is that they found a cool design with the black on the arms, the black on the legs where the red starts, and then seeing the spider insignia on his chest smaller, and seeing the black throughout the red and blue. It just makes more sense to kind of go in a direction of we're gonna give the very iconic look from the comics back in the day, but we're going to kind of modernize it and add a few little things to make it stand out. Because if you look at the comparison of this versus the Tobey Maguire era of Spider-Man, and then look at the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, this is way different than those other two. Like it stands out. It just stands out. And what I do want to talk about a little bit is if you can notice, you see on his waist the cartridges for his web, and then you see his eyes. And if you listen to the trailer, what I really like about this, if you listen very closely to the trailer, when his eyes squint, which is a very iconic thing, you hear a noise. Now, this spider suit, I'm thinking, which is really interesting, I'm thinking this is the suit that Tony Stark makes for Peter Parker. I don't think this is the suit that Peter Parker makes for himself by himself. Because they've said that Spider-Man, it's been rumored Spider-Man's going to have two costumes in the film. He's going to have his own costume that he's made by himself, which I'm assuming is like a red and blue hoodie or a red hoodie or something, and he'll put a spider thing on it or whatever, and he's going to, because he's basically a kid just running around New York City, and he hasn't made a full-fledged spider suit from what they've implied. So he's going to be kind of like just pasting shit together. It's not going to be really good. So that suit's apparently in the film, and then it's reported in what we've seen in the trailer with the reveal that Spider-Man, it looks like Spider-Man is on the side of Tony Stark, that Tony Stark has the ability to make him a suit. And so going back to the point of you hear a noise when his eyes get smaller, which is a very iconic look, that sounds, it sounds like technology, like and what it kind of, when I really think about it, it makes me think that this is sensors, where when he squints his eyes, the suit will do the same thing. That's what I'm thinking, because why would it react that way when he says, hey everyone, and then all of a sudden the eyes get smaller? I'm thinking that it is a sensor to where he squints his eyes, or he starts shutting his eyes a little bit, and the sensors and the white in the eyes will get smaller, because as we see in the next shot here, the eyes get smaller, and I'm assuming that's when he squints. So, and on top of this, what makes this reveal so good is that he's holding the Captain America shield, which is another, well, I wouldn't say iconic over the top, but it's a very cool shot that they've used in the comics before, where Spider-Man is holding on to Captain America's shield. So it's just awesome to see him holding that shield as the big reveal, and where Tony Stark is under ruse, and then you see the web. Like, they don't show Spider-Man at first, like, standing there. You see the web. That's the first thing you see is the iconic web, the sound flip, the flip, is it flip? It's something like that. And then he grabs it and he uses the web to tie up Captain America's hands. Oh, man, it's such a good reveal. Now, from what I've been hearing, Spider-Man is not going to have a humongous role in the film, which makes sense because he was casted and sent to the shoot. But I'm assuming they had Spider-Man the in the actual script, because the Russo brothers did a Q&A on a couple of months back or a couple weeks ago, something like that, and they said that they wrote Spider-Man in because they heard about the Sony deal, but they were like, we were really hoping that the deal would go through because we had Spider-Man in the script. I mean, if he was not in the script, we would have to go back and rewrite the damn thing. So they had him in mind for a long time. So my implication is that he's probably not going to have as much screen time as Black Panther, who's getting introduced as well. But I'm thinking that he's going to have a significant role in basically the ultimate fight here, because it looks like he's going to get in the middle of this fight, which is phenomenal. Oh my god, Spider-Man being in the fucking MCU. It's taken them to now the beginning of Phase 3 to finally get Spider-Man. I'm glad Sony came to their senses and signed the damn deal. But like I said, I love this suit. I really do like it. I'm not one of those people that was kind of thrown off by it. I mean, it looks so good. I just like it, because it stands out. If the suit looked too much like the suits from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, I would probably have a different reaction, a different thought about it, because I would like, well, I mean, it's awesome, but he looks too much like he did before in the other films or whatever film that they'll go for. So I mean, for me, I'm liking this suit. It's so good. I just love it so much. But yeah, I really love this trailer. It's a fantastic trailer. A lot of great things that happened, and I can't wait to see how Baron Zemo plays out. I can't wait to see how Spider-Man and Black Panther play out in this film, because I think ultimately this movie will determine if people are really excited for a Black Panther movie and are really excited for a Spider-Man movie. So I'm hoping they both succeed very well in this film, because I've heard from Screen Test, what I've been hearing for a little bit, that that test audiences have said Spider-Man and Black Panther are standouts in the film and they are well received. So that's a very good sign from test audiences. But let's not get too excited, because those are probably, I don't know if they're fans, but they but if, let's say, a group of Marvel fanatics went and saw this film, what would their responses be? It might be different. Who knows? So anyways, guys, there you have it. That is the breakdown for the Captain America Civil War trailer 2. It is a fantastic trailer. I really do love it. I love the Spider-Man reveal at the end. Seeing people freak out over Spider-Man is just the best thing ever. It's literally the greatest thing in the reacting community that's happened in quite some time, because it just blows people's minds that they actually did it. So I'm really happy they did it. So there you have it, guys. Thank you all for so much for checking out my podcast. Hope you guys really enjoyed it, and I will see you guys soon.